The 2024 Summer Olympics has just wrapped up, and if you were watching the Summer Olympics, you may have seen that there are some U.S. Army soldiers on the Olympic team for Team USA. And if you're curious as to how do those individuals get to compete in the Olympics while still being in the United States Army, well, you're in luck, because that's what I'm going to be explaining in this video, and that starts right now. So soldiers in the United States Army, if they make the cut to make it to the world-class athlete program, that is their opportunity to possibly compete as a member of Team USA in the Olympics. But that's not all they do, and there are some pretty strict requirements that I'm going to talk about. But if you don't meet those strict requirements, there's also other paths you could possibly take to get you to that level. So make sure you stick around for that a little bit later on. So the World Class Athlete Program, that is a program that is in the United States Army. Their headquarters is actually on Fort Carson, Colorado. I've passed by it multiple times, the headquarters building where they kind of have their headquarters out of, but that's where it's out of. There are other locations that athletes could be training at, so they don't have to be stationed at Fort Carson, but a lot of individuals sometimes are stationed at Fort Carson. So if a individual is lucky enough to be a part of that world-class athlete program, what do? Well, they do a lot of things. So because they're in that athlete program, they're going to be training all day long, right? That's their job now in the Army. Now, they do still have a regular MOS because they will have a regular MOS. They have to still come into the Army and then get into the program, because it's not a program that you can just go directly into it. You usually have to still kind of get an MOS qualification. You have to have some kind of specific Army job and then try to get into the program if you meet the criteria to be able to do so. We're going to talk about those requirements here in a minute, but they're day-to-day type of thing. If you're lucky enough to be in that world-class athlete program, is training for whatever your specific sport is, because you'll be assigned that sport based on whatever your background is in, whatever they want you to basically do in that world-class athlete program. So you're training for that, you're practicing, you're working out, but then there's also competitions. So your sole responsibility is not just to compete in the Olympics. If you're good enough, you're awesome enough, whatever, right? Then yeah, that could be an option where you could possibly be competing on the Olympic team and going off to the Olympics. But that's only every 4 years type of thing. So outside of that, they're still doing other competitions worldwide, in the United States, other countries, whatever, to compete in that sport, to keep up on those skills and prove why they should be on the Olympic team. So let's talk a little bit about those requirements. So there are some specific requirements. The main thing is that you have to already be in the Army. So you can't really apply for it before joining the Army. You're gonna have to wait until you're in the Army to apply to be on the World Class Athlete Program, because part of the criteria is that you have to be either active duty Army, Army Reserves, Army National Guard, and already completed either AIT or that officer, was it Bullock or whatever it's called for officers, because you can be enlisted or an officer and still make the team. You just have to have completed your MOS qualification and already be into your MOS and then apply for it. But there's more than just that. In addition to that, you also have to have a clean record. So if you're an individual that got in trouble, which resulted in Article 15, which means that you got busted down a rank, maybe you had to pay a fine or whatever because of something you did in the United States Army, then that's most likely going to eliminate you, because they want people that have clean records, because it's a special thing, right? It's not just a guaranteed thing you can do or a right or whatever. It's something you have to really earn. So you have to be a great soldier to earn the ability to possibly get to just be an athlete in the United States Army. So can't get in trouble. Now, the other thing is you have to usually already be a proven athlete, right? If you're just you know what, I'm a pretty good swimmer and I swam a little bit in high school type of thing, right? And then you're trying to try out for the team and you think that that's going to be enough. Probably not. Typically, they want people that have already competed at that national level. So you've got already some kind of history that, hey, I went to college, I competed in this event, maybe even in high school, I was a world-class athlete because I did this great, amazing event or whatever, right? You got to prove that you're already an athlete, not that you're just trying to say that I could be a great athlete. And if you're not at that level, I'm going to be talking about something here in a minute. But typically the individuals that do make it into the World Class Athlete Program, they've already, prior to joining the Army, competed at some kind of national level. Maybe they won first place in this competition. They performed really well in this type of event type of thing. Maybe in college, maybe outside of college, whatever. They've already proven that they are an amazing athlete and they deserve to be on this team to help represent Team USA in the Olympics, or to just represent Team USA for other competitions while being in the United States Army. So you got to have a pretty good resume already to make that team. There will also be like some specific requirements for each kind of, type of sport that you want to do. So if you want to do boxing compared to swimming, there may also be some additional criteria for that. But nonetheless, before I talk about how you could have the potential to get into the world-class athlete program without having that big resume just yet, let me show you some of the individuals that are currently on that team in the world-class athlete program. We kind of look at some of those individuals that are currently on the team, right? They have some great resumes, right? For example, we have this individual here, the staff sergeant here, that's on the men's shooting team, all right? So we can see inside of here, he's done some accomplishments as far as college, right? He's also gone to Ohio State University, right? Montana Tech, joined the Army in October of 2012. Now, that's important because, as I said, you have to have already had some kind of great competition, some great resume to get into it. And this individual has. So if we kind of take a look at what he's done in the past, right? We've got all sorts of things, recently U.S. Olympic team member, 2012, 2020, but prior to the Army, because he joined the Army in 2012, right? So prior to 2012. So here in 2008 and 2010, he was already a collegiate national champion and a collegiate national champion also in 2010. But also in 2012, he did a 4-time collegiate national champion and a U.S. Olympic team member for free pistol. Now, this Olympic Games would have been in the summer of 2012. He joined in October of 2012. So he was already on the Olympic team prior to even making it to that world-class athlete program. So that's a good kind of proof right there of showing that you have to already have this top level type of competition. In this case, he was already on the Olympic team before he joined the Army, and then sometime in his Army career applied to be able to do this. Now, his next accomplishment here is in 2014. So possibly joined in 2012 and then spent a couple years maybe as that 31 Echo that he was or whatever. And then eventually maybe in 2014 is when he got into it. I don't know. It doesn't really mention like when he got into a world-class athlete program. But that's a possibility, right? Maybe spent a couple years in the Army before he tried out for getting onto the world-class athlete program and then getting accepted into that world-class athlete program. Another individual that you may have heard about, right? Like I said, we had a few individuals that are on the U.S. Olympic team in this program in the United States Army and actually received a medal in the 2024 Olympics. One of those individuals is Captain Samantha Sullivan that's on the women's rugby sevens, which I have no idea what that sevens part is. I don't watch rugby or anything like that. Maybe someone can tell me in the comment section down below. But nonetheless, right, rugby, right? I don't know if there's a difference between rugby sevens and rugby, but she's a badass, right? She was on the went to the United States Military Academy at West Point, right? She joined in 2020, and prior to 2020, right, she had some great accomplishments as well, right? 2019, she has these rugby accomplishments that I have no idea what they are, but it must be great if they're on a resume type of thing, right? You got this, rugby 15s, was a capped player. We got a collegiate sevens national MVP. So she did some amazing things, then joined the Army, and then got selected to be on the world-class athlete program, and then made Team USA to get to play in the Olympics, which I believe that them placing in the Olympics and getting that bronze medal, I think it was a record, because I don't think anybody has ever, from the United States anyways, ever gotten a medal in rugby or something like that. I forget what the exact thing was, or the criteria was, but pretty amazing accomplishment to say that you've done that type of thing. So, she's done some pretty amazing, badass stuff. And, she's still a soldier. She's still in the United States Army. And if you look here, her MOS is a 12 Alpha. So she's an engineer officer. So maybe she was an engineer for a couple years or whatever, maybe as a lieutenant, and then eventually tried out for the world-class athlete program. And because of her history in rugby, I think she even played rugby at West Point, then that's probably what got her onto the team and made her, be able to compete at that level, compete for the United States Army, and then eventually try out for Team USA and made it to Team USA. And now they got a bronze medal, and first time anybody's ever medaled, I guess, in the United States for the Olympics. So pretty awesome, pretty cool. So pretty cool, right, to be able to compete at that level for the world-class athlete program. But as I said, you got to have a great resume. So if your goal is to get into the world-class athlete program, but you don't yet have that resume that may look great, to show that, hey, I've already competed at this high level, I've already won, these competitions, maybe you need to build that up. Well, there's another option you'd be able to have to be able to kind of get that, right? There's this other program that you can possibly be able to try to join and try to get that resume, and that is the All Army Sports Team. So if you try out for this and maybe you can make that cut, that could be a stepping stone to kind of get you into the ability to be able to try out for the world-class athlete program. So you can be all you can be on the battlefield and in your sport. And they have multiple sports that they do as well. Right? They got basketball, you got bowling, you got cross country, golf, marathon, all sorts of other ones that are kind of similar, right? So you'd have that option to possibly, try out for that. and then maybe you can make it onto the all Army sports team, win several competitions and everything, prove yourself, and then from that background be able to show that, hey, look, while I was on the all Army sports team, I was able to, get some medals or, place first place here or whatever. So I would like to try out for the world-class athlete program. Cool. Maybe now that you've got a resume. So don't think that just because oh, well, I didn't do that in college, I didn't do this. That could be your other option, right? Your other option could be that you go to that all Army sports team, work your way up through that, earn your way into the world-class athlete program, then boom, then before you know it, maybe you are lucky enough to be able to, compete in the Olympics for Team USA. I'll have some links down in the description box down below, like if you want to read about the world-class athlete program, you want to read about that all-Army sports team, I'll have links down in the description box down below. But I want to hear from you guys down in the comment section down below, right? Is this something you're interested in? Did you, hear about, those individuals in the Olympics and want to know how you could do that, and you're interested in being able to get there? What sport do you want to do? Do you currently, do some kind of like athletic type of competitions and stuff? Comment down below. Before we wrap up here, right, you got to understand that even though these individuals are getting to do these amazing things, right? They get to compete at these different competitions, they get to train all day, they still have to be soldiers, right? Because in the end, they're still Army soldiers. So they still have to do things like the Army Combat Fitness Test. They still have to do things like weapons qualification, which I'm sure is like super easy for those individuals that are on the shooting team. But nonetheless, they still have to do basic soldier stuff. That could also include like if any of these individuals are getting promoted, because they still have the opportunity to make promotions and stuff. And if that promotion requires them to go off to an NCO academy, an officer academy or whatever, they still have to attend those schools. So they still have to do the basic soldier stuff. They probably have some basic training type of things they have to go through at their unit. That's the world-class athlete program. But in addition to that, they're training for these events. They're training for, whatever their specific sport is, working out, exercising all the time, whatever, to keep that peak level of performance. But then, here and there, whenever it comes about, they still have to do the basic soldier stuff, because they're still, in the end, soldiers of the United States Army. So you can be in that reserves, National Guard, active duty, right? I'm sure active duty gets to train a lot more, maybe do a lot more, I would imagine, but nonetheless, they're still soldiers in the end. Now, also along with that, if let's say for whatever reason they stop doing, high level competitions, they're not doing well, they're losing all the time, they're not keeping up with everybody else, they can get cut from the team. And if they get cut from the team, then they may have to go back to doing their MOS, right? So that's why you still have to be in the Army, already MOS qualified, because in the event that you can no longer compete in the world-class athlete program and be at that top level, you may have to go back to doing your regular job, your regular MOS. So it may be a challenge for individuals to just do that forever, right? It could be possible, right? They could do it for a very long time. I think there are some individuals that are like on the coaching staff, but still in the Army because they did it for a really long time. And instead of going back to their MOS, they were able to stay on as a coach because of their experience and stuff like that. So you could have the opportunity to possibly do that. But otherwise, if not, you got to go back to doing your MOS, finish out your contract, or just continue being in the Army, but, continue being, an 88 Mike and 11 Bravo or whatever MOS it was you're qualified to do, and then continue doing that until you decide to get out of the Army, you retire from the Army, whatever the case could possibly be. All right, so if you found this video helpful, you enjoyed this content, make sure you're sharing it with somebody that maybe wants to watch it too. Maybe they want to learn how these soldiers got to be in the world-class athlete program and got to compete in the Olympics. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up, make sure you're subscribing. If you didn't notice, I got a brand new shirt. I got some new shirts on the store. If you want to go check those out, go check those out. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. I'm Christopher Chaos, and I'll see you next time. See ya. Whoa. I know you're about to click away to go check out that cool cat video, that Minecraft video or whatever, but I got a video right here that you should really check out. It's amazing. It's awesome, and I think you should watch it. So check it out.